Okay, so I just checked everything out and everything is good. And also the way, like where I'm sitting right now is so like moody and dark. And I feel like with my outfit today, I look like a completely different person.
Monster Mash. The Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash.
Let's just dive right into this video because I have food in the oven and I don't want it to burn while I'm trying to film. Okay, so obviously I work in social media for brands. I am a social media manager and I have multiple different clients of like varying sizes and industries. And my job is to create content for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, sometimes YouTube. What other? I write blogs and I create emails for email marketing campaigns, etc., etc. Like I kind of just do everything within the wheelhouse of social media. And obviously, like at first with social media, brands weren't online a lot. It's still to this day, a lot of brands aren't online, especially like small businesses and brands like that. But a lot of people just don't see it as a necessity. And at the beginning, no one saw it as a necessity. But now it is extremely important that brands are visible online through social media. Social media is now where people are. With that being said, I personally am always curious about how brands can more effectively be on social media. And recently, today, I've been thinking about what makes brands effective online, what makes them successful, and I've written down a few things. First, I think having the right mindset is something that's incredibly important for brands. A lot of brands just go in and just approach social media with the idea that they want to sell. Well, while that's never like a bad thing, it's also not always going to be the most effective thing. People aren't using social media to buy as much as they were like last year because it's rapidly changing. And when you approach it from the wrong mindset, when you approach social media and being present online from a perspective of, oh, well, I just want to sell stuff, that's the first mistake. And it's probably one of the more common mistakes when approaching a social media campaign. You have to approach it from a place where you're genuinely looking for community online, because that's why social media exists. It's a place where we come together and create communities and live within like the confines of a website. But so it's important that brands show up in that community, not just to sell, but to be an active part of it. That was kind of formed as like, that had the inflection of a question rather than like certainty. But yeah, brands like have to show up and they have to be involved and be a part of the community, and successful brands will become an integral part of that community. Yeah. Also, side note, I know that like I go off on these like tangents, but it's just kind of like these verbal thoughts that I have. So if they are ending in questions and stuff like that, it's just because these are just my actual thoughts, just thinking out loud to a camera. Kind of bouncing off of this idea of having the right mindset is that you need to have a plan. So brands need to have a plan to approach a social media platform, and not necessarily like a posting plan or like a content schedule of like, oh, I'm going to post this on this day and this on this day and that's my plan. They need to have a plan that's like an overall goal, an overall idea or approach to social media. So they need to say, okay, I'm going to join Twitter because this, and I'm going to achieve this, and this is how I'm going to do it. I need to have that kind of goal in mind when they approach new social media platforms and starting online. Another thing that I feel like so many people forget is that brands need to understand their audience. Just like you would do focus groups to figure out, like what your customer wants in a product, you need to understand, not necessarily form a focus group, but you need to have an understanding of what your audience is doing online, what they want to see online, what, is important to them. And there are, demographics that kind of like help you figure that out. There's data mining that helps brands figure that out. But beyond data mining, beyond this, like you just need to know. So when you have your target customer for whatever product or service that you're selling, you need to then, within your understanding of your target market, you need to also understand their social habits, their online habits, and how you can seamlessly work your way into those habits. If your audience is like 40 to 50-year-olds, they use social media in a completely different way than 30 to 40-year-olds do, who then use it in a completely different way than 20 to 30-year-olds, and likewise with like 15 to 20-year-olds. I mean, even within like the teenage market, 13-year-olds probably use social media in a completely different way than like 14 and 15-year-olds, who then use it in a completely different way than 16 to 18-year-olds, and possibly 16 to 17, and then 17 to 19 is almost its own entity as well. Like, and that's only ages, but regions, races, sexes, like all of these different like demographics that you would go by for anything else, they all vary with social media as well, and they're all important to take into consideration when you're trying to figure out how to reach a group of people. And I find that a lot of the times brands just don't know how people use the internet and what they want to see and what they care to see, and that's when and it's a hard thing to take on, like understanding social patterns or social media patterns and behaviors of anybody is going to be tough. So I mean, it's a challenge, but it's not impossible. Like, brands are successful online all the time, and it's not an impossible feat. Like, it just takes hard work and dedication. And not to plug my own advertising agency, but that's another benefit to hiring and outsourcing an agency that specializes in this sort of thing, rather than a business, especially small businesses, just trying to figure it out on their own. They just don't have that knowledge. Whereas if you come to an ad agency, like me personally, I've studied this, I work in this, I've like made a career out of this, so I fully like get it, kind of. I'm still learning. Brands need to be innovative and open-minded when approaching social media. The last thing, I've mentioned this before, but the purpose of social media is to be social through media. If you are approaching social media and you're not willing to have conversations, start conversations, be engaged and interactive with your community, get offline. Just don't even worry with it. The point of social media is to have conversations. I personally am always constantly thinking about like what's next for brands online. How can they be more innovative? What's going to be the next big thing? So for a while there, influencer marketing was the next big thing. Seeing and paying attention to people who are popular online, who have a lot of followers, whether that's via YouTube videos or Instagram followers or whatever it is, being in tune with who's popular and just that. And that's still important, and that's like wildly being considered in advertising and stuff. influencer marketing is huge right now. However, with it being so huge, regular everyday people, your target audience, they are more in tune with what sponsored content is. And it's not less effective, but it's oversaturated, I will say. I personally, I still buy products and services based off of the recommendations of online influencers. I've signed up for Squarespace because of online influencers. I've bought skincare products because of online influencers. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to know how much money I've spent solely because of beauty gurus. But my makeup collection is probably just because of beauty gurus online, which is great. It's great for me, it's great for the influencers, and it's great for the brand. So it's a win-win-win situation. But it is a very overly saturated market. So with that said, I'm always, again, trying to think of what will be the next thing. When influencer marketing kind of dies down, how will brands then seep back into the market? What will the next big thing be, So yeah, those are a few of my thoughts about brands online, and I just kind of now want to open up the floor to everyone watching this video. What do you expect from brands online? What are your favorite brands to follow? Who do you think are successful on social media? How do you feel about social influencers and them being used for marketing? As a user, what do you want to see from brands online? What do successful brands look like to you? Just let me know in the comments below. That rhymed a little bit. But no, seriously, let me know. Leave a comment. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. I think my dinner is ready, so I'm gonna get out of here. Okay. Bye.